Hi, everyone. Welcome to Spill the Tea Radio, where we interview awesome singer-songwriters and those who influence their lives. Spill the Tea Radio explores the journey, creativity, and inspiration behind the songs. My next guest is a singer-songwriter-performer based in Stittsville, Ontario, just outside of Ottawa. He has been a big fan of music since a small child and started playing music in elementary school. He continued his musical journey and bought his first guitar at the age of 16. He's been a fan of poetry since his early 20s and has always appreciated the music in poetry and the poetry in music, which is at the soul of his own songwriting. So, let's spill the tea with Robert Van Wyngaarden. Welcome, Robert.
Oh, thank you very much. Appreciate the introduction.
Now, you have an interesting way of putting the poetry and music together, which I gave in the introduction, music and poetry and music, and I haven't heard it expressed that way before. Where do you get your musical inspiration for writing songs? Are you sitting out with coffee in the morning and you see something in your yard and you say, "Oh, that's a song," or is it something you see on your way to, on the way to the grocery store? Like, where do the thoughts come from?
Well, it's all of that. I mean, I continue to participate in songwriting collectives or songwriting groups, and part of it is come up with 3 or 4 or 5 great titles or themes, and then you write a song around it, which is kind of a classic way of doing it. For me, it's like walking down the street or driving a car, and all of a sudden you hear just a tweak of something or see something. Oh, that's interesting, or like an interesting wordplay. But the music and poetry and music, I mean, I can hear music when you read poetry. I mean, there's certainly like Leonard Cohen. I mean, he is kind of the really, very much the two are just hand in glove, his songs and his poetry. But there's certain other, particularly beat poets, they wrote that way. But you can hear music, you can hear the riffing, you can hear a lot of that already forming in there. So it's, I guess in the writing I do, or what I try to do is to use as much imagery or use as much situation, or get the rhythm of the words as well as the music. So it's really trying to tie it in together. I don't know if I consciously do it per se, but in particularly in editing songs as you write them, you have to think of the cadence and how. Is there too many beats in there in terms of the words, and is it too rushed, or is it not expressive? And but in the creation process, it's more about the lyricism or musicality in the words.
You have you go to open mics, and I'd like to get your feelings on open mics and how they have helped you in your career and getting your music out there. And the song we're going to hear is based around a meeting that you had at an open mic. So what's your opinion of open mics? Are you in favor of them? What's the good, the bad, and the ugly of open mic performances?
Well, if you're going out to do music, and there's also comedy that mics as well, I think it's a really invaluable way. It's kind of a place where anybody can come, and if they have ambitions to try performing, to get up and give it a whirl, it's a great way to do it. And I think I started in open mics, and then I became a host in open mics, and I am a host now of weekly open mic. And there's a lot of people who, there's a strong sense of community that forms. And so I think the good of it is getting out, performing, learning about what it is like to perform, getting the skills to be able to perform, building a community. And, sometimes the jams that go on with, the musicians who are there are, quite magical. There's other times where, somebody comes in out of the blue and you wonder, ooh, who are they? And then, they start playing, and it's magical to, have the variety and the all the talent that's out there. There is a lot of talent out there. I was talking to someone a few days ago who's also a host of open mics, and sometimes it gets a little, I don't know, political, or people tend to make it more competitive than it should be, or more critical than it should be. Like it's really should be all about positive, and the people that go up there to share their music and their talent. It takes a lot of courage. So don't want to criticize or cut people down, but. So I don't see any downside to it really, and it's great for the establishments too, because they it's more foot traffic for them in their venues, and in these days and age where we have a very high cost of living and all that sort of stuff, restaurants and pubs and bars need everything they can do to get people in the door.
There are very, very few songs that I have listened to over the years where the very first time I heard it, and it didn't matter who the band was. The very first time I heard it, I said, wow, that's a great song. It sounds fantastic, because it wasn't familiar to me. And you have to listen to it over and over again, maybe 10 times, maybe 20 times before that earworm starts to work on you. But the singer-songwriter, the original music, whenever I see a band even up on stage, even if they're playing covers, if I get a chance, I ask them, do you have some original stuff? Can I hear something that you've written? And most of them were quite surprised to even have somebody come up and ask them about that.
No, on behalf of musicians everywhere, thank you for doing that. Because one place that I played, and that's where I host the open mic, but I played a Friday music slot. And I started into my usual set, and like 3 or 4 songs into it, and then some of the regulars there, one guy in particular said, "Okay, stop. Play some of your own stuff, okay? We've heard these tunes. We want to hear your tunes."
Right.
And so I got to play 3 or 4 or 5 of them in a row, and it's like that was rewarding. So thank you for doing that. I'm sure those musicians appreciated you speaking up like that.
Well, sometimes I guess they think, there's a drunk guy again. Nobody ever asks us for that stuff. I often ask artists and performers about the challenges that they have with their career. And I've had a number of artists that are in the same position that you are, where they've retired or they've quit their job, and really the money's not the big thing for them. It's something else for them, because they've made their money. They don't need the money of performing like some of the younger artists. They have to have the gig money or whatever money to pay the rent. So for you, why do you do it now?
Well, for the art, for the self-expression, and I feel that after slogging away for 15 so years, that I'm creating stuff that I think is reasonable quality, and I'm hearing decent feedback from the songs too, and the album that I just released in April is still getting played on popular streaming platforms. So that's great. That's really what I was hoping for, is that people would listen to it, and not just friends and relatives, but others would, and I think that's fun. So it's as you say, it's I think it's not just for the love and the artistry. It's also the fun of performing too, and that the satisfaction that comes with all the aspects of music.
What's the reaction been from friends and family when I ask artists that are just starting out? Their family will take them aside and say, "Listen, why don't you go be an engineer, a doctor, a lawyer, or something, and get your degree, get your education, and have a real job, and then do this on the side." You're not in that position where your family has said, "Go get a real job," because you did that already. So what's the family and friends support been like when you said, "Hey, I want to do this. I want to get up there, and I want to perform, and I want to I want to perform my own stuff?
Oh, well, it starts with my wife, who's, wonderful supporter and has heard, and attended lots and lots of open mics, more than I can count for, to offer support. And she's a visual artist. So, it's kind of I guess a shared partnership or support. And certainly the kids are enjoying it. And, I think friends like it too, and I whenever we're at parties with a group of folks, they say, "Hey, come on, give us some songs," and that. So I think it's all been very positive. I think there's I can't think of an instance where it was so negative that I just thought, okay, I might as well take this guitar out and just set fire to it, kind of thing. But
and 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 you have enough confidence. You have enough confidence in yourself. You just brush that off, anyways. If there is any negative, well, that's fine. Your opinion. Let's get into one of the songs that Robert wrote. This song is from Robert's album, A Restless Heart. The song is about a personal experience meeting musicians at open mics and a kindred spirit only musicians can appreciate. Let's take a listen to singer-songwriter Robert Van Wyngaarden and his song, Dylan Never Sang One of My Songs.
I plunged into the old Quarter Cafe to get myself out of the hot Texas night. Then I heard him sharing his songs with the regulars here tonight. He drew me in when he started to sing, a weary face with a confident voice. His sad-tied eyes must have seen some things that probably weren't his choice. He told me I only sing the songs that I write, 'cause the stories, they can't be wrong. I don't play no covers of Dylan, 'cause Dylan never sang one of my songs. He never sang one of my songs. He flashed a wry smile when he was done, downed his drink and dropped off the stool. Clutching his guitar, he quit the stage. He lived his life just like the blues. He told me I only sing the songs that I write, 'cause the stories, they can't be wrong. I don't play no covers of Dylan, 'cause Dylan never sang one of my songs. He never sang one of my songs. He went up to the bar and I bought him a beer. Told him I liked the songs that he played. He looked me in the eye and then he said I was true to myself again. Many months later I heard his story, a couple of tours in Vietnam. Furloughed for a while and then a discharge. Music helped him to understand. I only sing the songs that I write, 'cause the stories, they can't be wrong. I don't play no covers of Dylan, 'cause Dylan never sang one of my songs. He never sang one of my songs.
That was Dylan Never Sang One of My Songs by Robert Van Wyngaarden. Robert, tell us about the story. I hinted that it was inspired by an open mic that you were at. What went down at that open mic that got you to write this song?
yeah. Well, it's actually two themes kind of blended into one. But yeah, I was at an open mic a number of years ago, and just before it starts, you kind of sit down with some people you don't know, or I do anyway. And I didn't know very many people at this one. I sat down with this fellow, and he, I thought, oh, I'll start chatting with him, and I said, what do you think you're going to be playing today? And he goes, he says, I'm going to be playing all my own songs. And I said, oh, that's great. And then I said, okay, well, I'm going to be playing, some Glenn Campbell and some Neil Young. And I said, do you play any Neil Young? Because I really like his stuff. And he says, well, Neil Young never played one of my songs. So I thought, so he said, I'm not going to play one of his. So I thought, boy, that's funny. That's a really original and refreshing way to look at, the world. And he reminded me of a fellow who I knew was, he's an ex-policeman. And, he's probably gone through a lot of trauma. He's, the still waters run deep kind of thing. And then I thought, that's an interesting thing. And then I set the song against, what would it be like meeting Townes Van Zandt? Because the old Quarter Cafe that's referred to, that I had just listened to a recording of that Townes Van Zandt made, and it was fascinating. Like, he was just like that guy who I met at that open mic. And, and I thought, well, how am I going to get a title out of this? And so I thought, well, Neil Young never sang it's far too clunky. So I thought, Dylan, it's nice and short and simple. So I just changed it to that. But, and then the play on words between, the right and wrong and that sort of stuff. But it was an interesting story, and I felt compelled to write about it.
How do people find out more about you and your music, Robert? What's the website? What are the socials that they can go to?
Oh, thanks. The website is robertallenvw.com, Allen, A-L-L-A-N. And then A Restless Heart is available on Apple Music, Spotify, YouTube, Amazon, even TikTok. Apparently it's out there. And so it got a really good wide release. And so you can find A Restless Heart under my full name.
We've been in conversation with Robert Van Wyngaarden. Robert, thanks for being with us.
Thank you so much, David. It's been a pleasure.